After weeks of progress against the coronavirus, the COVID-19 team at the Grove Integris Hospital says things are headed in the wrong direction. Details are coming up.
Plus, the McDonald County coroner tries to figure out what led to the death of a man found dead with bite marks. The man's family has a theory. And the city of Joplin's restoring at least one service after what they're calling a network security incident.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
COVID-19 is on the rise in Northeast Oklahoma. This is KOAM News at 6. KOAM's Mike Mahoney spoke to the director of the Integris Grove Hospitalist Program about what his team is seeing on the front lines.
There was a time when COVID-19 was on the run in Northeast Oklahoma. Over at the Integris Hospital in Grove, Dr. Sam Radaman says his team went 4 to 6 weeks without seeing a COVID-19 hospitalization. But the situation changed in mid-June, along with the virus's symptoms.
One of the things that's really been concerning is that a lot of these patients seem to have slightly different symptoms than what they did with the original COVID strain. They're getting more headache, sore throat, body aches, just not feeling well, but they're not having those really classic symptoms where they're losing smell and taste.
Dr. Radaman says he's seeing these changing symptoms among patients infected with the Delta variant and other strains of COVID-19, and says people aren't getting tested as soon as they should.
A lot of patients, I don't think, recognize that they actually have COVID. They think they have just some summer cold, and so they're not getting tested quite as quickly.
Dr. Radaman says this recent COVID uptick is dangerous to both young and old Oklahomans. He says Integris Grove is seeing a much higher number of younger patients than they have in the past, and with more severe symptoms, but that's not the only age group who should be concerned.
In Delaware County, less than 50% of the people age 65 and older are vaccinated, and that's the really highest risk group that experience COVID.
The Integris coronavirus team says the solution is simple: get a COVID-19 vaccination. Dr. Radaman says even though no vaccine is foolproof, the protection they offer and the way they lessen the severity of symptoms if you catch COVID can be lifesavers.
These vaccines are extremely safe. Yes, there are side effects, but there are side effects to every medication that you take and truly a lot of foods that we eat. These side effects honestly are less than the problems that you get if you have COVID.
In Grove, Oklahoma, Mike Mahoney, KOAM News.
The Oklahoma State Department of Health tells us, quote, vaccine hesitancy is a common issue in our rural communities. We don't see it changing anytime soon, and the virus will continue to spread. Hopefully, people will realize that the vaccine is working the way it's supposed to by reducing severe illness and hospitalizations. Checking in with Doug Eddy for a first look at the weather.
Hey Dow, very hot, very humid day for us today. Most of us into lower 90s for highs, plus the humidity up there. So of course, makes it feel even hotter than what it is. But we are dry. We've had some isolated thunderstorms kind of rotating around us, but we are watching a batch out across western parts of Nebraska. This will start to affect us late tonight and then into tomorrow as we start to get showers and thunderstorms across the region. For the evening hours, hot, humid, upper 80s to near 90 right now. We still have heat in the seas, which makes it feel like about 95 to about 97 degrees across the region. We'll slide back through the 80s, 70s. Eventually, we'll bottom out near 70 later on tonight. But thunderstorms moving in for us for the weekend. Some of those could be severe, so we're going to look at that here in just a bit.
See you then. Police in Anderson, Missouri say a man's body was found in a ditch covered in dog bite marks. The man's identified as 41-year-old George Martin. According to the McDonald County coroner, the bite wounds happened before Martin died, but they were not the cause of death. Martin's body was found in front of 100 Lindsay Lane, just outside of Anderson city limits. And though the coroner says the dog bites were not what killed Martin, his family is not convinced.
George had a lot of friends that really liked him. He was a good person. And then it's just there's been so many stories about this and that, a vehicle hit him and this and that. That's not true. Because the coroner's report states that it was clearly a dog attack that ultimately caused his death.
The coroner is seeking a toxicology report, but the results could take weeks to come in. Joplin City Hall's phone lines are open again. The city's phone lines went down this week due to what the city is calling a, quote, network security incident. Phone lines are connected to the internet in the offices. The city hasn't provided updates for any of the other services affected, like online bill payments. The city has called in a cybersecurity firm to investigate the incident. The city's been investigating whether personal information submitted during online payments was involved. Still ahead is county fair season, and Newton County is kicking things off. We're going to tell you about some of this year's events and hear from a longtime fair expert. And a Carthage horse show brings out the competitors of all skill levels, each vying for valuable points. The Newton County Fair is underway. This year's fair features livestock shows, lots of food, carnival rides, and daily events. It's a fun event. Just ask longtime attendee Seth Russell. He's been going to the fair since he was 3. Russell shows dogs and goats and says it takes a lot of work to get them prepared.
The process, well, it's year round. We got to make sure that their hooves are nice and trimmed so that they don't mess up their feet or anything. We got to keep them shaved so that they look nice for the show. You got to keep them fed and watered and all that fun stuff year round. You got to make sure that they're medicated so they don't get worms or anything.
You'll find a list of upcoming county fairs on our website. Of course, that's KOAMnewsnow.com. A horse show in Carthage brought together some of the area's most experienced horse trainers and others who are still learning the ropes. The Ozark Quarter Horse Association hosted the show at Lucky J Arena. There are 3 classes of entrance: youth, adult amateur, and open, which is for adult professionals. While each class is at a different stage of their development, they all go through the same experience to prepare for a show.
As a young horse, as a 2-year-old, we have to break them, get them started, and do a lot of it, and teach them. Most horses, we do 3 things as far as walk, trot, lope, and we teach them different cues with our legs.
Winners are awarded points to go toward their standing and potential qualification in the World Championships. Later, a Northwest Missouri vaccine clinic goes largely unused despite some pretty enticing incentives.
Plus, thunderstorms rolling in for the weekend. We're going to look at that coming up next. Well, it definitely turned out to be a hot, humid day for us today, as we did go into lower 90s during the afternoon, and our heat indices definitely way up there. Most of us had a heat index right around 100 just a couple hours ago. Temps right now, we're sitting into the upper 80s to near 90 degrees. Dew points are up, which measures how much moisture is in the atmosphere. And when they're in the 70s in the summer months, they're pretty high, so that's why we feel muggy to soupy on that dew point range scale. But if we look at our heat indices, you factor in that humidity, you get the feels like temperature, the heat indices, and it feels like mid to upper 90s across the region. As we go through the evening hours for us tonight, our temperatures are slowly going to drop back as we drop through the 80s and eventually into the 70s. Looks good. 7th and Rangeline currently sitting at 88. It feels like 96. Relative humidity is 61% through the evening. Slide back through the 80s. Eventually, later on tonight, near 70 for an overnight low. Nothing's going on, at least in our neck of the woods. We have some isolated little thunderstorms which have been kind of rotating around us, but we have stayed dry throughout the daytime hours today. You can see a cluster of thunderstorms getting going across parts of Nebraska, and that's the beginnings of our next storm system, which will start to affect us later on tonight and then into the daytime hours tomorrow. You can see a cold front out across the northwestern parts of Kansas, and that's actually going to slide through and cool us down a little bit as we head into the second half of the weekend. Let's go through tonight. Here's 3 a.m. Thunderstorms in our northern counties. We will see some scattered thunderstorms working in during the morning hours. So here's 9:30, scattered thunderstorms across the region. By the afternoon, kind of hit and miss isolated storms. Nothing too strong or severe, just isolated good old thunderstorms. 73 to start, 84 by noon, high temp of 88 during the afternoon. Tomorrow evening, bands of thunderstorms will develop to our north and west, and then they're going to plow through as we go through the overnight hours. So you can see here's 10 p.m. and then most of these should be out of here after midnight tomorrow night, but some of those could be on the strong to severe side. Even on Sunday, we'll get scattered thunderstorms as we get on the backside of this storm system. So our severe threat tomorrow really includes everybody, at least a low threat from really 5 p.m. until 11 p.m. Main threat's going to be wind and hail. We'll keep the tornado threat on the low side. Also rainfall. With these scattered showers and thunderstorms, a lot of areas will pick up half an inch, upwards to an inch of rain. We'll have to see where those heavier bands set up as we go into tomorrow evening. So let's watch that tomorrow, because some of those storms could pack a pretty good punch. 88 tomorrow, a little bit cooler Sunday, 81, 84 on Monday, still a few scattered storms. Back into the 90s most of next week. We are going to get some thunderstorm chances back in Thursday and Friday. We can even go into next week and still some rain chances, but a little bit hotter than what we are going to see this weekend.
Seems to me we're getting more rain chances than usual for July.
And it's nice to have the rain. We just want to spread it out.
Can't argue with that. Thanks, Chuck. The potential for severe weather has forced Connect 2 Culture to postpone its Jammin' July concert. It was supposed to happen Saturday with performances from Lem Shepard and Jomo Jazz. Connect 2 Culture says the performers were all willing to reschedule. They don't have a date for when the rescheduled performance will happen, but they expect to release one soon. Still ahead, a Missouri woman says a Good Samaritan saved her and her children when their car caught fire on the way to Kentucky. Prospect of free Chiefs tickets could get fans to do a lot of things, but a Missouri Health Department learned it's not enough to convince some folks to get a vaccination. Reporter Kylie Thomas has details.
Thursday was slow moving at Mosaic Life Care's COVID vaccine clinic. Nurses left twiddling their thumbs, waiting for the occasional straggler to walk in and roll up their sleeve.
And we saw the opportunity to get more folks vaccinated, especially during the surge of new variants of COVID-19 that we are seeing and additional virus being spread.
Mosaic opening the doors one more time at East Hill Shopping Center with hopes of slowing down COVID-19 as Buchanan County cases continue to spike, with state data showing the county ranking the lowest out of all 15 Northwest counties.
It's important for anybody that can be vaccinated, regardless of their age, that they get vaccinated.
2 retired nurses with more than 40 years experience under their belt, even volunteering because they couldn't sit and watch from the sidelines.
When I heard that Mosaic was having the clinic, I said, I want to volunteer. Just felt so good about it that I was actually giving back, like not exactly like my peers on the front lines, but I was doing something.
Moser retired in January 2020, right before the pandemic hit. Now she's vaccinating a brand new frontline worker, Jesse Braswell, who works directly with COVID patients and their families.
I feel like I need to get the vaccine when I'm especially working with them, and I've seen how bad it affects people, and I believe that I don't want to get other people sick as well, especially when I'm dealing with that. Even though I'm geared up in a PAPR and everything, I believe that it will help the world one step at a time.
In an effort to get more people in the door, Mosaic entering those receiving the vaccine into a drawing for Chiefs goodies.
Even with the incentives of Chiefs tickets and signed memorabilia, it doesn't seem to be enough to fill these tables with residents willing to get vaccinated. So people can go to vaccines.gov and find COVID-19 vaccines in their area.
Healthcare workers doing their best to promote getting the vaccine, making it easier to find, faster to get, and a shot you can trust. But Buchanan County residents just aren't biting.
They're not trusting the science. They are listening to Facebook.
Missouri is seeing one of the largest outbreaks of the Delta variant in the country. A pregnant woman dies after a crash in West Wichita, Kansas. Doctors were able to safely deliver Samantha Russell's baby after that crash on Tuesday. That baby is listed in critical condition. Police say the crash involved a truck that had been in a chase before the chase was called off. Police say they called the chase off quickly since the suspect was driving so fast up a busy road. They say he blew right through a stoplight, causing a multiple vehicle crash and killing Russell. The Kansas Highway Patrol identified the driver of that truck as 37-year-old Javin Jermaine Irvin. St. Louis area family on their way to their new life in Kentucky were faced with potential disaster, tragedy, but quick action from a Good Samaritan helped prevent the worst from becoming reality. Reporter Emma Hogg has that story.
With just all the violence going on in St. Louis and then me raising boys alone, I was just like, it's finally time to just leave.
With 2 young boys, Jasmine Steed was sick of the gun violence in St. Louis. Looking for a fresh start, the single mom got a job with Amazon in Kentucky. Monday, she packed up everything they owned and started the 5-hour drive toward Lexington.
The drive was going fine. The boys were in the car, we were listening to music.
Steed and her boys were on Highway 64, just 20 minutes from their destination when her car started smoking. Panic set in as her 6- and 4-year-old wondered what was wrong.
And I tried to cut the air on and smoke started coming in the car.
I didn't like it. I was coughing when it was smoking inside when my mommy turned the air on.
Moments later, Steed says a man driving the opposite way made a U-turn, got out, and helped pull her boys to safety seconds before the car and nearly everything she owned burst into flames.
I don't know, I was just screaming. I didn't know what to do. I feel like I couldn't breathe. Like I said, I was just thinking about their stuff.
At the time, Terry Entwistle was driving from St. Louis through Kentucky to Ohio to visit her daughter. Entwistle's motherly instincts told her to stop after seeing Steed in distress.
And I said, I put my arms around her and I gave her a hug and I said, it's going to be okay. Everything I own is in there. And I said, it's going to be okay.
She sat in the back of the police car with them the entire time and sang songs with them and just talked to them.
Even drove them to Steed's friend's house after the ordeal. Tonight, the single mother and her sons are back in St. Louis without a car and minimal clothing for her kids. And while this mom may have next to nothing, she says she has what matters most.
I can't express it. Like, I'm extremely grateful. Like, I'm just going to basically live my life out to just make sure I'm serving people and I want to make sure that I'm doing the same for others as they did for me.
Final check on the weather is next. Take time now to honor a local veteran, Private First Class Charles Oldham. The Carthage, Missouri native served in the U.S. Army, and we are proud to salute Private First Class Charles Oldham. He's tonight's four-state hero. Jordan Abbey joins us now with a look at what's coming up tonight on KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
Tonight on KOAM News at 9, police in Nevada, Missouri make an arrest in a drug trafficking investigation. Also, President Biden says he's taking on big industry to help the little guy. We'll explain. And a group of House Republicans are taking action to prevent Olympic athletes from protesting in Tokyo. That, of course, much more coming your way tonight. KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
Now, the road to the future might not be a road at all, but more of an elevated track. That is, if the company U-Sky Transport gets its way. Their idea for solving the problem of increasing traffic congestion is to take traffic off the road altogether. U-Sky's model is a network of futuristic, driverless, high-speed pods that ride around cities suspended from steel tracks. Pods can currently go up to 93 miles per hour, but for safety reasons, they don't travel that fast along the test track. Of course, we have driverless pods taking people around airports, and many of them on top of tracks. We have for many years. So the technology already exists. I wouldn't be surprised to see that in our future.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what pops up over the next 10, 20 years.
Some thunderstorms may be popping up this weekend.
Yeah, in our near future as we go into tomorrow, some hit and miss storms during the morning hours and then the afternoon, but some strong to severe thunderstorms working in tomorrow evening.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you right back here at 10. Let's make it a great evening.